gateway to experiencing abundance. Our reports, which are our gateway to hearing what is going on in our sacred ohana. We know that this meeting is blessed and each person here is blessed. And so it is. Amen.
Well, if everyone would like to kind of gather together, if you feel so inclined to do so we can sing our community song. Okay. Everybody sits down there like, okay, I'm in my seat. I want to stay there now. Yes, it's too hot to be moving around, isn't it?
Wow, feels good.
Okay. If you close the circle, let the circle be unbroken. Okay. Weave us together, weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together, weave us together in unity and love. Let's go one time this time.
Oh, is that all? I want to do it again.
Okay, we want to do it
one more time.
Here we
One
go.
more time with them. Come on.
Weave us together, weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together, weave us together in unity and love. Next time you play the drums.
All right.
Okay. All right, thank you, everyone. As you make your way back to your seats, and the vision and mission statement will be shown on the screen. So if we could repeat our vision statement together. Centered in God, we elevate global consciousness through the realization of oneness. Our mission statement together. Unity Church of Hawaii fosters personal transformation, creative relationships, and compassionate sacred service. Thank you. So, President's Report. Actually, in the President's Report, there are a few things that are going to be talked about in other reports. So I'm going to defer to those reports. The only thing that I want to let you know at this time is that I will be on leave or on vacation, as they say in the civilian world, for the next 2 weeks. So I won't be here next Sunday or the Sunday after. I plan to be on the Big Island, so wish me luck that I don't fall in the lava. If I do, I'll be singing "Weave Us Together." So I'm very happy to see all of you here again, as usual. Thank you for being interested in your community. So without any further ado, I'm going to move on to the Treasurer's Report now. And I want to ask Joanne, as Kathy's coming up, is there anything that you'd like to talk about as far as the 80th anniversary? Okay, so why don't I let you go ahead and do that now?
Be really brief. We've started the ticket sales. We were able to meet that initial goal of getting 30 people to sign up when we had that first push, which means that I'm now in negotiations with the caterer that will cater the luau, the Hawaiian food part of the luau. So hooray. The sales have been steady but very slow. So if people are going to, I would really appreciate some indication of crowd size. So either please start paying now, or at least drop by and say, I intend to come. Because right now we have about 40 people, and we'll be planning for 40 people, and all of a sudden, if there's 80 people, then that's disruptive. So let's, over the next few months, let's start getting a much more solid figure. Now, somebody said they were a little confused about how the pricing goes. It's sort of like not Disneyland when it opened, but Disneyland later on, one admission price. And that pays for whatever is going on, and it's at $80. And what we've decided is that what people seem to respond to at the 78th was seating and parking. So if you're having more than one person, you have the advantage of coming in early so that you can sit together. Then the parking is trying to encourage carpooling. If you can get 4 of you at $100 each for a $400 ticket, you'll have a reserved Hui parking space. And again, if we could get this parking lot full of people that carpooled, we'd have 80 people just in the parking lot, and we wouldn't have to rent the Waikiki School. So the sooner we get feedback on how much money we actually have to work with, we'll do more. So we're thinking about bringing in a band, maybe even a band of renown, but until we've got money to fund it, we have to just be very careful with where we're spending our money. So that's the information to date.
Is this on? Oh, good. Okay. Good afternoon. We are blessed to have this many members of our congregation willing to come to another business meeting for the third time this month on a warm July afternoon. So I give thanks for each one of you and your presence here and your belief in this community and this ministry. As treasurer, I've been treasurer 4 months now, so I've been learning rapidly and finding out new things and setting goals. And my goal is regular, accurate, meaningful financial information available to our board so that it can fulfill its services, and to our entire congregation so that we can all be comfortable about how our money is being used for the greater good and to bring about God's purpose in this community. So that's what I'm trying to accomplish. I don't think we're quite there yet, but I'm here to tell you we're making progress and we're learning a lot of things. Now, does everybody have one of these pieces of paper? I have a summary of it that I think Diana's going to give me right here. These are our operating results in our general fund or unrestricted fund. And this is for the month of June that ended a few weeks ago, and for the first 6 months of the year, January through June. So you can see that our largest source of income in this ministry is the donations and tithes that we all participate in, either on Sundays or by having something mailed in, or having our bank mail something in, or by setting up a regular credit card contribution. These are the ways that we provide the support for the operation of this church. And in the month of June, even though it was a warm summer month and our senior minister was gone for half of the month, we still came up with almost $25,000 in donations during that period. So I was pleased about that. Because of Reverend Tim being gone and because of the summer, it was a little bit down from where we were in May, but we're looking forward to the July results. because not only because of all of you and your belief in this ministry, but because we have 5 Sundays in July. And more Sundays is always a good thing. So we have this almost $25,000. Then in addition to those donations, we have developed through the years ways to bring in additional funding to help offset the cost of operating this beautiful campus in this amazing location on the slopes of Diamond Head. And those sources add up to $15,883, and they come from a variety of sources. Some of them are the expenses that are allocated to the preschool. Some of them are the monies that we receive from having a wellness center, which, by the way, is doing quite well, and also having Deja Vu, that's been having a wonderful sale here on the campus, and having a counseling center, having our kitchen that also does very well and produces an income for the church. All of those activities make a difference and help us keep this campus alive. So those are the 2 ways that I look at the income. You can see in more detail the specifics of how much we took in at the 11 o'clock service on your sheet of paper here, and how much we took in at 9 o'clock, and our Wednesday night service, which is very popular and always makes a good contribution. And you can see the credit card contributions, people who have tuned in to the internet or have made a one-time decision to put a donation on their credit card, or those who have decided to set it up so it automatically charges their credit card every month, which is something that I like to advocate because it goes on all year long, it makes the church stable, and you don't have to remember whether you have made a contribution this month. So in the month of June, $4,110 came in through that source, and that's one that I'm hoping to see grow. We see mail-in contributions were also higher than usual in June. Some people have different systems set up where they will maybe even have a trust fund that they've set up, or a charitable gift fund, and have money coming out of that, which is counted as a mail-in contribution. We also had a donation of stock, and I did mention this the last time I spoke, so I won't dwell on it too long, but if you happen to have stock that's worth more than you paid for it, and it's sitting in your portfolio, and you know that if you ever decide to sell it, you'll have to pay capital gains tax, you can get out of that by deciding to give it to the church. And if you are interested in doing that, you can contact me, and I will tell you exactly how to go about it and work with you to see that that stock is transferred into the church's brokerage account and used for donations to the church without you having to pay any capital gains tax, and you do still get the tax deduction for the full amount. So that's just a little business issue aside. You will also see on account 4107 that there were $3,321 left over in the funds that the board set aside last year to finance the search for a new minister. And that search is over, and those funds have been released, and so now we have that additional money coming in. You can see all of the rest of the sources of income there on the list. I won't go over each one unless you have questions. On the back page, you see the expenses. Personnel is our number 1 expense, and that's what it takes to keep an operation like this going. And the overall cost of personnel, including fringe benefits and also the beginning payments for the minister's move, added up to $21,360 in June. And so that's the biggest expense. The next biggest expense is our Sunday morning services, and the people who work so hard to make the Sunday morning service meaningful. The next one is the utilities. We do pay a lot for electricity and water here, but like I said, all of the other people using the campus are helping to pay for that as well. So you will see under professional services, somebody asked about that last month, that we actually have spent $2,000 during June, and a total of $6,000 at this point on an outside accountant to work on the years of 2014 and 2015 to help bring those old years up to date so that we can have full financial transparency. So that brings us to the total expenses for the month, which means that we did spend about $2,500 more than we took in during this month. And for the full 6-month period, January through June, the number was $15,133 more than we took in during that period. And when I finish my report, Reverend Tim is going to talk to you about some ideas on how we can get those numbers turned around and moving in the direction that we want them to go. I think that's all I'm going to say right now about the operating results, unless somebody has a question. So why don't I stop and open for questions? Yes, Ricky? I can't hear you. You have to. You want to take this? Sure. This is being recorded. I can't hear you.
Hello, testing.
There you are.
Okay. I just was curious, what is the overflow parking, Kathy? Are we paying for parking?
Yes, we are, and that's
Thanks.
something the Finance Committee agreed that we would look into before we even go ahead and pay for August. I believe we pay for it by the week, so August being a month with 4 Sundays, I think it's scheduled to add up to $180-something dollars for the month of August. If you've never had occasion to park in the overflow parking, it's down at Waikiki Elementary School. And if you drive around here and you can't find a place to park up on Diamond Head Circle or somewhere else in the neighborhood, you can go down there and park. We did a quick survey the other day. One of the members of the Finance Committee, Catherine Burton, went down there, and she said there were 6 people parked there. So there are some people using that parking, and that's something we need to evaluate, whether we want to keep paying for the overflow parking, because we do pay for it. The parking space belongs to the Department of Education, and we have a contract whereby we would pay them, but we're not obligated to keep it if we decide we don't need it. Did you want to talk about that, Ralph?
Oh, no, I just wanted to ask you, under 6,800 professional services, could you give like maybe 1 or 2 brief examples of what professional services are?
Yes, the main item in professional services is what I mentioned a little while ago about an outside accountant named Renelle Matsunami, who was retained by the board in the early part of this year to come and do some work to get the older years, 2014 and 2015, up to date in our books and accounts reconciled. And she has completed most of that work through the end of 2015. She was not engaged to do anything beyond that. And she has also turned back to us the questions about the restricted funds from the older years. So along with some dedicated volunteers and our staff, I've been reviewing those restricted funds to determine how much we should still have in restricted funds and how much is actually available in our restricted fund bank account. That was the issue that she was not able to reconcile. Yes.
Hi. I just want to encourage us to maybe advertise that parking, because I didn't even know we had overflow parking. And so it's like, wow, maybe we should advertise that for a few months and then evaluate it at the end of that and see if we get more use.
I think that's a great suggestion. It used to be in the bulletin, but I guess once you're here looking at the bulletin, it's a little late to decide where to park. So maybe we can ask Reverend Tim and the staff to work on some other ideas on how to advertise it. Because I've parked there. My husband and I have parked there when we couldn't find a parking place closer, but most of the time we can find a parking place closer, so we don't park there.
Okay, this will pull you a little from the report, but it comes from it. The first question is probably really more for Tim. He was going to look into seeing if UWM will pay for his moving expenses. And then the other part was we're in summer, and you thought that summer would be when we'd be ready for the audit. So just a little thumbnail as to, are we close enough that you have an idea for a date for the audit? Or not audit, independent review.
I move when I give my report.
Oh, okay.
When I give my report,
right.
because you're anticipating some things I'm going to report on.
The next item on my agenda is going to be to talk about the independent review. So I will be taking that up next. And at least all the news I've heard from Reverend Tim up to now is that he's making very good progress on bringing in $5,000 to subsidize the move, which was more than that. But we are very grateful for his efforts in going out and finding new sources of money, because that's going to be beneficial to us. Other questions on this document before I move on? If not, maybe Diana can give me the next page of my report, which you will see the very top item is plans for an outside review of the financial statements. Just a little brief refresher. We are overdue to have an outside review of our financial statements. In order to have an outside review, the first thing you have to do is produce financial statements which you as management and the board can reasonably say you believe are accurate and are a fair representation of what our financial position and operations are. And in the period of time when my predecessor, Linda Knox, was treasurer, she put a major emphasis on getting us a monthly operating statement, but was still not able to go back into all those old years to build up the balance sheet so that we would be to that point. Now, the last time we had an outside audit, this is what the results of it look like. This is a published financial statement with supplementary information. This particular one is an outside audit, a complete audit of the financial position of the Unity Church of Hawaii and its operating division that operates the preschool. So this is a consolidated statement of church and preschool operations. And not only do we have the full statements here, but we also have the opinion of the outside auditors that the consolidated financial statements present fairly the financial position of Unity of Church of Hawaii and the changes in its net assets and cash flows for the year covered in this statement. The only problem with this is that this statement is as of December 31st, 2005. So it was a long time ago that we had this very complete audit. It was actually the first year that Reverend Sky St. John was here. And I will point out that the date on the audit is December 6, 2006. So it did take them 11 months to get it done. It was a big project. The year before, the church had what was called an independent review of its financial statements. And that one resulted in two documents. One is a financial statement for the church operations, which makes mention of the fact that there is a school that operates as part of the church nonprofit organization, but its results are not included in this document. However, there was a separate document for the school. So that was a review of both of those financial statements. And a review, as it says in the report, consists principally of inquiries of the organization's personnel and analytical procedures applied to the financial data. And they then go on to say that based on our review, we are not aware of any material modifications that should be made in these statements in order for them to be in conformity with generally accepted accounting principles. So it's what's called a negative assurance. Either we can have an audit where they say, in our opinion, these statements are a fair presentation of what's going on there. Or we can have an independent review where they say, well, you know, we looked at what management told us and we did some review and some analysis and nothing at all came to our attention that caused us to believe it wasn't right. So those are our two options. And my recommendation is that we go along the way it was done before. This was 2004. They did the independent review. and got things pretty far along. Took them most of the year to get that done. And so they were almost to 2005. So they were past the end of 2005. So at the end of 2005, then they had a full audit. So it's my hope that 2016 is the year that we have an independent review, and then next year will be the year that we do the full audit as of the year 2017. So that's my belief. Now, what do we need to do to get there? That's really what I have been working on in my 4 months as treasurer. And I want you to know some of the things that have come to my attention that I have discussed in great depth with the Finance Committee and reported last Thursday to the board. And that is that some aspects of our accounting systems and practices were not always producing that accurate information in our financial statements that we need. For example, for the last 2 years, there was an error in the process of recording our payroll every month that resulted in the expense of payroll in our financial statements that I and my predecessors have been reporting to you, but that amount to be understated by $43,133. And that is the clear explanation of why you need to review your balance sheet regularly, because that difference that should have been an expense was just reported as an asset, which is a non-existent asset. And those corrections are now being made. They have been made for 2017, and now we're going back to get them all made for 2016, which you've all been very kind not to mention that in the past I used to come up here with comparative statements comparing to 2016, and that's why you don't see one today, because I have to get those errors corrected. But the good news is that the system that was causing those errors has now been corrected, and those are the things you have to do in preparing for an audit. In addition to that, the process of doing bank reconciliations has run behind and has not been complete, and that has allowed some expenses to be double recorded. And we were able to catch a number of those errors in 2017, and Rennell caught some of them in 2015. Now we're changing that system as of this week, and by next month I hope to have all of 2016 corrected. So those are two of the items that are getting taken care of. Now the other one has to do with the restricted funds, and that one has been my biggest concern, especially when the outside accountant that we had hired to clean up the old years said, well, you know, just by working on 2014 and 15, I can't tell you exactly how much of your old restricted funds are still here and restricted. Her numbers showed that, well, we should have more in our restricted bank account than we do. So I started going through the old years to try to figure that out. Anybody who wants to volunteer to come sometime and help me for an afternoon, I'm open to that assistance as well. One of the things I found the most significant out of this effort so far is that in 2012, the church received a major bequest, and in the documents that came with that bequest, there was a designation of what should be done with it. Some of you remember an educational program was created as a result of that bequest, and a number of capital improvements undertaken as well. But there was also a provision that $56,250 of that bequest should be put in our permanent endowment, which is called Legacies of Aloha. And that has yet to be done. So a major portion of what we still have in our restricted bank account now, after doing the roof and everything, is the $56,000 that still needs to go to Legacies of Aloha. So that's something that we have to continue making sure there are no other significant issues like that to be corrected. As soon as we get those things done, then we'll be ready to move forward. The way it will happen, I will first bring you a financial statement, an unaudited financial statement that is the best we've been able to produce as a group, the board, the staff, working together as a community, and then we will have the auditors come in. Their work will take probably 3 to 4 weeks to complete, and then we'll come up with a nice report. There's one other thing that is still running behind, and that's the financial records of the preschool that need to be brought up to date. They were further behind than the church. And I think that's because the board last year worked very hard on bringing the church financial statements up to date. We are now only beginning to get the school financial statements up to date and get the bank reconciliations completed for both their general fund and their restricted fund, and to get them a budget. I have spoken with Sergio Galisa, who does a wonderful job managing the school, and I'm amazed at the job he does when I realized the deficiency that he's working under, that he hasn't been able to prepare a budget because he hasn't had any financial statements at all in the 2 years that he's been director of the school. So it's astonishing the great job that he has done, and he is very much looking forward to getting these things caught up. And we do have Rennell working on the older years of the school now. So I really would like to see a consolidated statement. Whether we get a consolidated statement right now or whether we have to do them one at a time depends on how quickly we can get the school brought up to date. The one other thing I want to mention on my list of goodies here that I really want to go into more depth next month is Legacies of Aloha. I mentioned to you at the last meeting that we currently have $434,000 of investments in stock and mutual funds that is set aside as a permanent endowment to ensure the future of this church. It is intended ultimately to generate some income to support the budget. Right now it doesn't, because through the years money was used from that fund, as many of you are aware, for various purposes, good purposes like paying off the mortgage on this property, which I thought was a good thing. But during the last 10 years, which is what we've been able to analyze up to now, $314,000 from Legacies of Aloha were used for various worthwhile church purposes, and $21,000 of that has been paid back. So there's $292,000 of it still in question. The board has appointed a committee chaired by our Vice President, Thomas Gallagher, to review the entirety of Legacies of Aloha and to make recommendations for a rewrite of the legal documents that govern our endowment and for exactly how these issues should be taken care of and how we will move forward with our endowment. I have to tell you, when I originally found out that Unity Church of Hawaii has a significant endowment fund, I was impressed. I've never belonged to a church before that had one. So I think we can all take pride in the fact that we do have this endowment fund and that we have a dedicated committee of board members and congregants working on charting its path for the future. I would like, if everyone else agrees, when we meet next month to be able to have Thomas Gallagher here. He's off island right now, but I wanted to have him here to join in the presentation of where we are with Legacies of Aloha and where we'll be going in the future. So those are my presentations as to where we are. Joanne said, when are we going to have this audit? And she said that to me numerous times in the past, as has Linda and others. And we are going to have the audit as soon as our financial statements are in the shape that the auditors can audit them. When do I think that's going to be? It's taken longer than I thought it would because I thought we'd have it done by July. But there have been a few things that have required more time than I thought they would. So I'm still of the belief that we can get to that point by the end of August. So that's my goal, and I ask for your support in accomplishing that goal. So I've covered a lot with you today. I would be happy to respond to any questions on this hot summer afternoon. I would like for us to have some additional sessions for those who want to learn more about church finances. That's one of my ideas of what we might do with community talk sometime, is have a whole session on this or a whole session on the endowment. But at this point, if any of you have questions, I would love to answer them.
Hi, everybody. In the past, we had lots and lots of Japanese weddings here that were significant income. Is that no longer on the table?
That is still happening. Reverend Tim has been working on making sure that it's happening in a very orderly fashion. The income from that source is $1,440 a month. It's lower than it was last year, but it is a contractual agreement that they pay for a certain amount of weddings, and they send us that 700 and something. Excuse me.
And Judy, if you want to come up here, Judy is our events coordinator, so Judy works very closely with UI, the Japanese wedding company, and so they pay us based on 8 weddings per month. So if they are below 8, they still pay us for 8 weddings per month. And they're a very good group to work with. Our contract with them gives them exclusive right to weddings here, subject to our schedule. So Unity Church of Hawaii, of course, first has dibs on our schedule, and then exclusive rights goes to UI. But I've been talking to another wedding company and other people, while UI would still have exclusive rights. Their contract does not prohibit us from also working with other groups. And again, that's one of the things that I'll address in my report. What makes it exclusive is that it has priority in terms of scheduling above any other wedding company. Judy, did you wish to respond to that? Did I cover it? Yellow.
Just about the number of weddings and things. As you know, being in the wedding business yourself, Japanese weddings have gone way down. We also have other people, like right across the street, there's a Japanese wedding company that wasn't there at the beginning when we had a lot of the Japanese weddings coming through. So those have made an impact on the number of weddings that we've been able to go through here. In addition, UI has been very, very generous and accommodating to our schedule, because if you remember last year, we had a lot of times where we had construction going on in here. We've had our roof that needed to be fixed. We've had many things where they were not able to schedule weddings as they would like because of our schedule, including October, which is their busiest month of the year. It happens to be our 80th wedding anniversary. So again, they have been very accommodating and continue to want to work and have ideas of how to build up their business and our business with them, and also very supportive. They've actually donated money. Their name is on our plaque here. They donated money to the beautification of this chapel. So,
just one final comment for those of you who like to follow these things. It's on your sheet. It's account 4700 Outreach Weddings UI. Shows that they have paid us $9,000 in the first half of this year, and $1,440 in June. And then right above that, you see ceremonies, which is, you know, if you are a member of this congregation or you attend church here and you want to have your wedding here or your friend's wedding, we arrange those too. We don't have to go through a company. So we do have income from that source and also from private celebrations, which is generally celebration of life events. So those are other activities that do go on here, primarily brought about by our own congregation's needs. And I think Joanne's next.
I just want to clarify. I'm pretty sure it's clear, but I want to make sure that it looks like 2016 will be audited, the one around August, so let's say September, October, and then the next full audit will be for the following financial year, so that can't begin until sometime in 2018. Is that correct?
That would be correct. And I do want to emphasize that audits are not something you snap your fingers and get done. So I know that one proposal to the bylaws committee is that we consider changing when our annual meeting takes place so that we will be able to allow 6 or 7 months after the end of the year to get an audit done before we have our annual meeting, because otherwise, what's going to happen this year? When we have the meeting in March of 2018, which is our next congregational annual meeting, I'll be presenting the audit or it's not an audit, it'll be an independent review and financial statements from 2016. Of course, I'll also be there with the 2017 financial statements, but they will not yet have been subjected to any kind of outside review. Did that answer your question? I hope. Okay. Any other questions? Yes, Linda?
I just wanted to add that we used to get a substantial income from Anella Wedding Chapel across the street when Scott was here. We used to get all their secondary weddings because they had large weddings. I know that the wedding chapel, the Japanese weddings have gone down, but they still have Japanese weddings over there. I have a contact over there if you'd like to. We did get a lot of weddings from them. They gave us all their secondary weddings.
Thank you. And thanks to everybody for your interest in finances. It's something I'm interested in, and not everybody is, but I'm glad that you're willing to listen and participate. Thank you.
I just like to take a moment because I know when this started a while back when I was treasurer, there were a lot of questions about what was going on financially. Loke gave me the looks of, what's going on, and Linda gave me the looks of, when are we going to get this fixed? Joanne gave me the looks of, you better get your butt in gear, boy. and I just want to say thank you to Kathy, because she's done a great job at helping even myself and some of the rest of us understand exactly where we are with the finances and where we hope to go. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to give you, I have a lot of material to share, and I'm going to try to summarize it quickly. But it's a lot of information. So are you able to listen fast? Okay. My report. Okay, so I went to the Unity Convention recently, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to go to the convention. And it was the best one I've ever been to. Very powerful. And it gave me the opportunity. There is something in Unity called Help Unity Grow, HUG funds. And these funds primarily come from donations or when Unity churches have closed and finances and assets have gone into this fund. And so this fund is specifically organized to assist churches in their finances, in their growth, to expand the Unity movement. I knew about this fund as part of my involvement in Unity Worldwide Ministries. And so Linda Knox wrote some preliminary grants which I needed to rewrite after I got more information once I was there at the convention. So I rewrote these grants and submitted these grants. Regarding the moving expenses, Joanne, we are receiving $5,000 from Unity Worldwide Ministries, and that's coming as a Help Unity Grow grant. So it's just, here you go. All right? So that'll help us. Also, there's two other projects for which I wrote grants. One of them is for lighting. If any of you ever stand up here, you know that these are very hot lights, and they raise the temperature of the chapel. Also, lighting, new lighting, LED lighting, would not only be cooler, it'd be more energy efficient, cutting down on our electric bill. It would improve the value of the live streaming, which is a very important ministry because we're reaching hundreds of people through online services of various types. So I submitted a grant for that. Along with that, Sean Sweet wrote a grant proposal to the Templeton Foundation grants, which also come through Unity Worldwide Ministries for audio-visual. So we submitted 2 separate grants to 2 different sources, and another grant that I submitted was for the gutters on our buildings. Okay, the word that I got back, now initially the chief operating officer, the chief financial officer told me not to have my hopes set too high, because since I'm a board member of Unity Worldwide Ministries, they didn't want any appearance of favoritism. But I submitted all of those grant proposals, and so not only did we receive, we're going to be receiving the $5,000 for moving expenses. We're going to also receive a $5,000 grant, which can either be applied towards our lighting project or towards the guttering project. And in addition to that, Unity Worldwide Ministries, and this is the maximum that they typically do for a church, okay? They also offered to us a very low-interest loan for whichever project that the $5,000 grant was not applied to. So, let's say the lighting project is $12,000. They recommended to me first hear back from the Templeton grant, because the Templeton grant will pay for half. So, if the Templeton grant pays $6,000, then we have $5,000 that they're willing to give us from the HUG fund to apply towards our $6,000, our matching part of it. And that leaves us with just $1,000 to have a new lighting system. And they recommended we first hear from the Templeton grant, because if they paid us $5,000, that brings our total amount down. If we're talking $12,000, that brings our total to $7,000. Half of that would be $4,500. They want us to get as much as we can from the Templeton Foundation, okay, $6,000, and then get the $5,000 from the HUG fund. And so we're supposed to hear in the next few days regarding the Templeton fund. So we have some great things that are going on in regards to that. I wanted to let you know about that. And I'm very excited that we'll be on the New Thought channel. I'm looking forward to starting to teach some classes along with some of our LUTs and Reverend Levitt and teachers here. I'm going very quickly through this report, so pardon me as I scan this very, very fast. Our treasurer, Kathy Whitmire, has been doing a fantastic job bringing things up to speed, and I have met with Sergio to talk with him. He assures me he wants to work with Amy, our bookkeeping person, to bring those books up to speed with the school, because he wants to know the financial situation as well. So this last board meeting, I presented several things in regards to experiencing our abundance. First of all, Unity Church of Hawaii has infinite potential and unlimited abundance. Repeat after me. Unity Church of Hawaii has infinite potential and unlimited abundance. And that's the truth. I mean, that's just the way it is. This is no fake it till you make it or blowing smoke. That is the truth. We know there is no lack or absence in the abundance of God. And so the thing is, we need to know how to tap into it, how to accept it. Now, I personally have never seen before a church so well poised for growth, for expansion, for service to humanity, for helping to bring about greater and greater awakening to others. I never have, right? I mean, this church is on the cusp of breaking loose and breaking into greater and greater abundance. So I look at how can we tap into that unlimited abundance. There's several things. I'll just touch on these very quickly. But if you want more information, you can, talk to me at some point. Education and experience. I want to lead some classes on prosperity, like 4T or the Prosperity SEE class or something like that, not only to focus on the principles of prosperity, but to encourage people to actually participate in giving, tithing, and seeing how that works, seeing how that energy exchange works. I believe that at least once a quarter, I plan to give a Sunday message in both services about prosperity, abundance, how we circulate our divine good. Once a year, we will have a special Sunday, and I think I would like to do it in October, because October is our Makahiki celebration, the anniversary, 80th anniversary of our church. And Makahiki we're looking at 3 primary themes. Cleansing is the first one, celebrating is the second one, and tithing is the third one. So these 3 elements we'll be talking about through the whole month of October. So in October, I plan to have a Sunday where we set our intentions for how much we plan to give during the year of 2018. It's setting an intention. There's not going to be any intention police going around to see if you're actually following through. It's something between us and God where we're establishing what it is in faith that we wish to step out into, and how we want to prosper this church, and how we want to prosper our own lives. It's stepping out. It's something that is spiritual. It's not really fundraising. I don't think of it as fundraising. I think of this as a spiritual exercise of stepping into faith. So we'll be doing that in October. Also, we will have an annual fundraiser that probably will be perhaps January, February, as a fundraiser for capital improvements and projects. We may, like on a Christmas tree or something, put projects where people can pick projects that as a team or as an individual you can support. Thomas Gallagher and his team with Legacy of Aloha is looking at how can we encourage planned giving, that is, planning ahead, wills, bequests, gifts of stock, insurance, other things. We're also looking at the development of a retreat experience. So, using Unity Church of Hawaii as a destination for people to come from all over the world for retreats, for classes, and also this is our opportunity to reach the world and also as a source of additional income for our church. Yes, that's an excellent idea. Tie in the Wellness Center and other folks with those retreats. That's a good idea, Tony. And further develop other groups who can use our facilities. So that would include wedding groups, having more weddings here, other groups. For example, the AA group wishes to have a thankathon here, and this would be starting Christmas Eve, 3 o'clock? Thanksgiving Eve, thank you. Thanksgiving Eve at 3 o'clock and going until 3 o'clock on Thanksgiving Day. And they are willing to, Judy and I have been negotiating with them, and so they have agreed to the conditions that we have specified. If any of you are interested in knowing more about that. So there are ways that also Ricky and I and others want to form a committee to have a homecoming. That is, those people who used to come here or people who come once in a while or all of us have a homecoming and have all of us come home and have a way of welcoming us to this sacred ohana. So that would be a way to connect with some of these people who maybe haven't been here for a long time. There's a lot of ideas. I have a lot of information. I'm not going to go through all of it with you, but I just think that these are very, very exciting days. I have a vision of expansion of our youth department. There are some young families who are starting to come. They're wanting their kids in a youth department. I envision seeing a nursery. Because if you have young families with babies, what are they supposed to do with them? I mean, yeah, they can hang on to them, but recently we had a couple leave because we didn't have a nursery. And I don't want that to ever happen again. So, we're looking at ways to continue to expand and grow. Our church will continue to grow. Our live stream and our online services are growing. And so I'm really thrilled to be here. Our pod is landing soon. It's scheduled to arrive August 4th. And so, how can I say this in the nicest of ways? If any of you are looking for service and volunteerism, the pod will be arriving soon, and our car is supposed to arrive this next week. And so it's really a joy to be here with you. Are there any questions that anyone has for me? Robin.
Thank you. My question is, when we get the grants, will you announce it in church?
Yes. Yes, I will. Absolutely. I'll be all over it. Did you have something, Ralph?
I was just going to ask if you were going to have a pod party.
A pod party. That's a good idea. The pod people partying persistently. Okay. What's that? Will there be any? Oh, I don't know if I'll repeat that, Tony. She's a pod with a D. Not a pot party. Okay, any other questions? Yes.
Thank you, Reverend Tim. I recently relocated back here to
Yes.
Hawaii with my, she's 20-something. She's 23. And I just had a question I wanted to know when you were talking about increasing membership as far as maybe increasing, I guess, kids in her age group, because I kind of noticed that there weren't a lot.
Yes.
So I was wondering if there's something.
That's
Maybe
fine.
I haven't attended. I've been here every Sunday the past maybe 6 weeks.
Right.
Maybe I haven't
Yeah.
seen it, but I was just wondering about that.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and good to have you here. And that's definitely part of my vision, is to reach millennials, which is that group. And in Unity, it's sometimes called NGU, Next Generation Unity. But Uniteens, which are middle schoolers, YOU, which is high schoolers, I want to reach those groups. I want to see that expand. As I drove past the University of Hawaii, Manoa, yesterday? Was that just yesterday? Seems like a long time ago now. I was saying this prayer, for our millennials, university students, those young adults, for knowing ways to connect, because there's a lot of spirituality there, but that particular population in our nation, I need to look specifically at Hawaii, but in our nation, the group that is called None, N-O-N-E, that mark none on the surveys when they say no special religion, no specific church, so they're called the nuns. In that particular population, I believe it's 33% are nuns. It's like not active anywhere, but yet there's a spirituality to them. Spirituality is a high value with many of them, and I think Unity has a lot to say to those kind of folks who are tired of religion, tired of hypocrisy, but are interested in practical spiritual living. So it is a vision of mine. Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's move on to our prayer of thanksgiving together. Thanks, God, for your substance and abundance. We open our consciousness to continued quantum leaps in prosperity by knowing and accepting large sums of money in our bank accounts and investments right now. We practice the principles of prosperity and tithing to keep the flow of good moving in generous amounts through this ministry. All of our financial obligations are met, paid in full, and on time. We have plenty to use, plenty to circulate, plenty to share, and plenty to spare. We watch with joy and gratitude as the Holy Spirit grows Unity Church of Hawaii beyond our greatest expectations. Thanks, God, and so it is. Any other questions?
I was wondering if we could get a white piece of paper back here so we can read the names a little bit easier. It's really hard to read them.
You know, I actually don't know who would answer that question. Okay, so I guess we'll ponder that. And it's notes are being taken, so facilities? Okay. Okay. Thanks, Robin and Linda.
I've been down at Connection Central collecting money for the Makahiki, and someone approached me today saying that perhaps I should give a presentation. Would people like me to give a presentation at the next one with, you know, the events that we're planning and where we are financially? Does that? Okay, I'll put something together.
Yeah.
I have three things, maybe not so quickly. I don't think being quick and in a rush makes for a good meeting. I was down at breakfast. I have a continual problem. Today I went to go to the Christmas in July thing because I wanted to participate in that. And then I went to sign up for give my money for the 80th anniversary, so I did that. And then I said hello to a couple of people. I thanked him because I thought it was a really good service today. And I was so happy because there were so many, to me, the church was full to me. And I was really happy about that. And so then I got to breakfast, and it was 12:58. And so I got my breakfast, and I noticed that the chairs were already being picked up. They were ready to be picked up. And there were 40 people or so. I took a picture in there because we had a bigger service, and I'm always getting rushed out breakfast. Now I might be late, but we had extra people in here, and you know, people are picking up the chairs and slapping the tables, and this is a continual thing at 1 o'clock, and there are people in there still eating. And I felt particularly bad today because we had extra people. And I hear that one of our employees gets off at 1 o'clock, and that's the reason. If that is the reason, maybe we should extend the employee time. And I know that some of the members in the church help, but I don't know if that's so good help, because, you know, the tables, when they crash, bang, and the chairs, and you're trying to eat, and you're feeling like people are coming and taking all the tables and chairs around you. It's like if we did have new people, I don't think that's like coming home or a very good homecoming. I wouldn't want to come back. So the second thing was, like Joanne said, I think a presentation would be good. Even we used to have short presentations at the different services about even the anniversaries that were coming. And I see somebody nodding their head. You know, it was just a short one, but people don't know. We're used to one gala. It was the last one we heard. And now we have a makahiki that's going to last several different events. And I think some people are sort of confused. And if the whole membership were here, or how many people we had in church today were to hear about it, just even faintly, I think there would be more participation and more people coming. So maybe we could have a longer presentation here, but at least a short one through the church services, because we are used to doing that, and we are having that through the history of the church. The third thing I want to thank is whoever approached the preschool about having the preschool parking lot open. I really want to thank everybody for that, because that's really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Any other questions, comments?
I would like to suggest to the Facilities Committee, especially this time of year, to reinstate the water fountain if possible. And that came up again today downstairs because people were wanting water, and we used to have 2 water fountains on campus, but now we have none.
Okay, thank you, Joy. The suggestions that you all are making are being recorded, so we can go back and take a look at those and report back to you on what decisions might be made or comments. Anything else?
If we decide that we like something like water fountains, it would be nice when that decision is made for a go-ahead. What's the cost involved, and then let the congregation come forward and contribute to that specific.
Excellent idea. I'm sure Kathy would agree with that.
And in the Makahiki celebration, one of the things we're going to have is called an action auction. And so there will be some possible items that we might put together. It might be for water fountain, might be other things. I don't know, Joanne, if you want to speak to that real briefly. You'll put it together in their presentation. So we're going to look at some of those projects.
I just want to say that for the fountains that I've known, the only cost that it incurs is to turn the pump on. So it's the electricity for the pump. It's not a big deal. I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry. I guess sometimes I mumble or speak fast. For all the pumps that I know, the only cost that it incurs to turn the pump on is for the cost of electricity for the pump. So it's not a big deal. There's no cost for the water because it's the same water going through. So it's just the cost to run the pump. Yeah. Oh, are you talking about you're talking about the drinking fountains? I'm sorry. Okay.
Alan and I actually took a look at one of the fountains a while back, and we found that it will come on, but there's something wrong with it. Didn't we? There was.
Yeah, the water works. I'm not sure if maybe the problem is the refrigeration to chill the water, but I mean we could have actually it shouldn't require electricity for the water to come out at all, and the water does come out.
So we have to get somebody in there to take a look at it and see why we're not using it at this time.
Can we have solar on our roofs and make some money happening that way to save electricity and so forth?
Well, we had Jade Guest do a whole survey of solar energy, and I think we were trying to move in that direction a while back. So we can go back to Jade and see, the packages that she probably put together, and see where we stopped with that, and if there's any going forward.
I'd like to just add one comment about that, because I'm a big believer in solar, and we have it on our property, and it makes a huge difference. And we do have air conditioning, not in this room, but in the preschool and in our offices, we have air conditioning. So solar would benefit us greatly. There is a slight difference in how much benefit it will be to the church as compared to how much it is to other people. And that's because the church is a tax-exempt organization. So there are ways that need to be looked at and considered carefully about financing the installation of solar, because it is expensive. And when you do it yourself, you can get a tax rebate from the state and from the federal government to pay more than half of the cost. But if you don't pay taxes, you don't get that. So that's the big problem, is it's a big cash outlay that we'd be looking at. And if we can come up with a financing system, which I think is possible, but it needs to be studied carefully to make sure that we get a good system. But I agree that it needs to be done.
Thank you. Any other questions? Going once, going twice. Swing, we're gone. So let's go ahead and have our closing prayer and be grateful for all of the goodness that we have in our lives, for Olga Lucia and Reverend Tim. Thank you for coming to Hawaii and blessing us with your presence.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's an honor. Thank you.
Tim to airport. Yeah. Yeah. Specifically Hawaii.
Yeah, I was looking for where was I supposed to go. I would just get on a plane. All right. Well, it's so good to be with all of you. Could we join hands, please? It's been a good meeting, good day. And thank you all for your investment, your interest in Unity Church of Hawaii. It's a dream come true to be here and to be with you. Yeah. All right. We have there. All right. Here we go. That's an idea. All right. Hey, I think we're gonna. All right. There we go. All right, she's running to the back. Okay. If you would take a deep breath and first pray for the person on your left. Just knowing health, wholeness, abundance for them. Pray for the person on your right. Knowing the highest and best for them. Lifting up this circle, lifting up our entire Ohana. We know blessing, prosperity, abundance, peace, wholeness, and health. And divine, we give thanks for this awesome time together. And together we say, and so it is. Amen. Amen.